Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to part 32 of Let's Play Pillars of Eternity. The Tale of Aldwyn. In the last part, we were, well, I'm pretty sure the affidavits that we were looking for are in one of these boxes. Unfortunately, we don't have the the lockpicks required. So first things first, we're going to talk to Commander Cleaver. How may I be of assistance? So why don't you have enough soldiers then, mate?
Fleetbreaker Castle. The High Justice has summoned almost half of my novitiates, and more of my justiciars to a keep on the other side of New Hailmar. It's not for me to question the High Justice's orders, but it's left us short-handed. And mark me, we're just a couple sparks away from anarchy.
We have so many newcomers, can't you just recruiting more soldiers? More recruits means more training, which means more time from experienced soldiers that I don't have. He turns half away from you. Anyhow, I hardly see how this is any of your concern, but if you've got the time to ask me about it, then perhaps you've got time to do something constructive. Forge Master Dunstan is working with an animancy sorcerer to build what we're calling Forge Knights. Warriors that can patrol our streets without suffering fatigue, disobedience, or fear. Some agitators throwing a rock at them. We don't have to worry about things getting out of hand. He's constructed the armour, but we need the scholar's research. Unfortunately, she hasn't been around the last few times my novitiates have checked. Viana lives with the rest of the scriveners out in Copper Place, but I haven't her soldiers to spare at the moment. Go to the scrivener's dormitory and see if you can find her. When you get the research, just bring it to Dunstan. This is his area of expertise anyway. Once you've brought him the research, he can sell you any arms or armor if you have the need. He forges and repairs all of our equipment. You won't find a more capable smith in Defiance Bay. Was there something else I can do for you? Can you tell me about the Knights of the Crucible? He crosses his hand behind his back. We're the only professional army in Defiance Bay, or in the Deerwood for that matter. We've defended the city in Hardret's day. We've improved our training since then, but Dernwood Row can certify that many of our officers come from the good Deerwoodian fighting stock. Now, we're responsible for patrolling the city and keeping the peace. With so many refugees pouring in from the countryside, that's become more important than ever. Unfortunately, that's earned us the enemies, particularly among the dozens and some of the more enterprising families in Defiance Bay. So what do the dozens have against you? He snorts. They're demagogues and troublemakers. They forget that Defiance Bay is one of the largest cities in the world and not some frontier outpost. Most of them are mercenaries on a good day and street thugs the rest of the time. Needless to say, they've no patience for law and order. Tell me about these enterprising families. House Doimian, namely. They're one of the city's oldest noble families and its largest criminal organization. Their patriarch, Genmar, has been trying to take advantage of the turmoil to expand his operations. We've kept on top of him, and he hasn't been too happy about that. I see. Was there something else you want to say? So you're in charge of the Crucible Knights, are you? Here in Defiance Bay, anyhow. The High Justice is the leader of our order, but he is currently stationed at Fleetbreaker Castle. My job is to oversee our forces in Defiance Bay and keep order for the Duke. Oh, fair enough. So I guess we can go do that. I guess we can go do what you want for you. Oh wait, there's some notes here. Oh wait. Wait, it doesn't say it's stealing, so I'm gonna go just click any. I'm just gonna click it anyway. As long as it doesn't say it's stealing, we can take anything we want. Symbol of Abion, colossal smithing hammers and poser, a circular gear. It's smooth and bright with burning oils. Alright, there's nothing in here for me. That's obviously a training area. We can go check in here and see if this has the affidavits. We'll see. There it is. And weirdly enough, it wasn't considered stealing.
A simple test.
Quickly endurance.
That's settled.
Not even worth it. Thank God it was fucking free to take. Right, so we're going to get ourselves out of here and go do the affidavit first. I believe that's to be done in Copper Lane. Let's have a look. Rogue Knight in... Oh, in Brackenbury. We'll go through that. Oh yeah, there's see, there's a door right there. So let's get ourselves out of here. And we'll go find what we're looking for in Brackenbury. We'll get this. You know, I think we'll go check the outside of the Valian embassy. We'll check the outside and basically make sure there's nothing else here that we could want. And then we'll go check. Probably go do the Brackenbury first. Get Rogue and Knight done. And that will be about it. We'll try and do other things. Yeah, I don't think there's actually really much else here.
Yes.
Other than, you know...
I'll be ready for a break.
It is true. You have been at it far longer than I. Where will you go next, when you have all the world to choose from?
Home, of course.
You know, we'll just get ourselves going to Brackenbury. I believe this is... I actually don't know whereabouts it is on this, like, the round. It's... I've already been, so yeah, apparently it's not a problem. We can just go straight away, and that's good. Alright, so... Pretty sure we've been here. I can't remember... No, we definitely haven't been here.
Invalid.
Maybe. But the search for Persock is just as important as what I find.
Is that right? And what if you return empty-handed, eh?
I never return empty-handed.
Let's talk to Nedian.
Gods keep you.
A woman stands in the shade of the garden, muttering to herself. She's fixated on the pages of a large, well-worn tome, seemingly oblivious to the blooming flowers and the cool, fragrant breeze. She only looks up when your shadow crosses her page. Do you mind? I'm rather busy. What are you busy with? She snaps the book shut. I'm studying soul attachment. We all know that souls move into people at birth and out of them at death, but we still have a lot of questions about what makes them stick, so to speak. What do you mean about making them stick? She brushes a stray lock from her forehead. Souls power bodies and give their tissue life. But only when they're firmly attached. It's separation that leads to a whole spate of soul-related elements, including the Hollowborn. But if we understand how to retouch souls, we can end Waiwaden's legacy and maybe even conquer death. She scratches behind her ear. That's the theory, anyhow. Unfortunately, I don't have all of the research I need to put into practice. So what exactly do you need? There's a manuscript called The Theorems of Pandagram. It contains research from Pandagram's experiments on detached souls. The Hall of Revealed Mysteries is rumoured to have a copy in the Elder's Archive. Pandagram's work is considered to be one of the more daring animancy texts, not something generally circulated among novices, nor easy to get a hold of. I wonder if we might have a peek at it. The theorems could advance my research by leaps and bounds, but Grimda, the High Archivist, worships Whale, which means she has some paradoxical views on sharing and restricting knowledge. And since she's not exactly a proponent of animancy, she tends to restrict that kind of information, the kind of information that would be useful to me. Maybe she could be persuaded? You're welcome to try, but you wouldn't be the first. She sighs. Anyway, I should probably get back to my work. Just tell me about yourself. I'm an animancer at the sanitarium. Currently, I'm researching matters related to Waiwaden's legacy. Anything else? She looks eager to return to her studies. What's Waiwaden? I mean, at this point, we've really nailed in what this legacy is, but I'm going to continue to ask anyway. Waiwaden's legacy refers to the rise in Hollowborn children in the Deerwood in the recent years. Some have also connected it to so-called biowics that blow through the ear Glanfeth. There are hardly any reliable data on those, though, so I can't really comment. She sniffs. I don't care for the term Waiwaden's legacy. It reeks of superstition, but it's too prevalent to change at this point. Personally, I'd like to see people take a more methodical approach to these matters rather than throwing up their hands and blaming the gods. Good to hear someone speaking sense on the matter. I have some questions about the theorems of Pandagram, such as, tell me about the theorems of Pandagram. Pandagram was an animancer working in the Deerwood. He had some interesting theories about essence and some rather innovative techniques for studying it. He was able to reattach souls to bodies after death, although he wasn't able to prevent his parents from degenerating. He was controversial to say the least, but many are starting to realize that he was merely ahead of his time. What do you mean by degenerating? Nin twists her hands together. Well, there seems to be a tiny problem with reattaching souls after death. The bodies reanimate and may even retain memories and personality, but they develop a hunger for flesh. Living, soul-infused flesh. Without it, they start to devolve, decaying mentally and physically. If the process goes too far, which it eventually does, they become mindless corpses, attacking anything that moves. We haven't figured out how to avoid that yet. That is more than an inconvenient side effect. You reproduce an unnatural curse, with little to show for it. That sounds like necromancy. Nonsense! Necromancy is magic. This is science. She emphasizes the last word. So why doesn't Grimdark lend you the book you need? The Hall of Revealed Mysteries is rather protective of its books, especially the rarer ones, and Grimdark in particular. She hates animancy. Shouldn't that be like a comma that don't mind? Think it's dangerous? I don't see how you can run the greatest library in Deerwood and be so adverse to the spread of knowledge and research. But I've never understood these religious types. I love Scowls the Animancer. Some knowledge is best kept under lock and key. I'd like to know about the Hall of Revealed Mysteries. Revealed Mysteries. You'll find it in Copperlane District. It's dedicated to the god of secrets and revelations. Most importantly, it houses the largest and most expansive library in the Deerwood. Well, that settles it. We simply must go see it, right? What are the Elder Archives? The Elder Archives hold the rarest, most arcane, and most powerful texts in the Deerwood. Think of it as the inner sanctum of the Hall of Revealed Mysteries. Needless to say, you need Grimdark's permission to enter. That's all I wanted to ask. Anything else? No. I feel like I've learned some stuff and whatnot, but I think it's time we went inside of, what's this say? The sanitarium. This is exactly where we needed to be for one of my quests. Let's have a look. We'll talk to anyone who has an actual name. Looks like none of these are interesting, but she has a story to her. Verna, you sense a strange divide in this woman's soul, an unnatural boundary between two opposed walls. You see the woman pausing by a roadside to hand something to the driver of a stopped wagon. These herbs should help with his party sickness, she tells him. He can find more along the road, easy to spot with their serrated leaves, but avoid the ones with the green berries. It's a different species, toxic. He thanks her and offers her coin, but she waves him off, explaining that she is merely doing what her order asks of her. He nods, and she sends her heads off. She heads off down the road as he begins to hungrily consume the herb. You see the woman searching alongside the road now, the wagon just up the path, and you realize you have skipped backwards in her memory. She sets eyes on a plant with serrated leaves and green berries. She picks several handfuls, tearing the berries off one by one and tossing them to the ground. She nudges them off of the path into the bushes quickly with her boot, without looking down, as if to hide them from her own sight, before striding back toward the wagon, hands outstretched. Fucking Jesus Christ, that woman's got problems. She just fucking murdered them. I mean, I don't expect any less from most people now. Can that fucking statue talk? Head Warden Ifulumare. A well-maintained statue of a middle-aged man presides over the room, looking down unblinkingly over the bustle of harried academics, pestered by the hopeful desperate. A strong warmth emanates from it that you could sense from across the room. There is a human soul stored beneath the stonework. You feel its attention turned towards you. It has been some time since a watcher graced these halls. His voice echoes deeply, rumbling the floor beneath you. I am envious of your natural insights, traveller. I can only imagine how it might have helped my work in life. Now, what is it that has brought you to my sanitarium? You may have a member of the leading key in your midst. I'm not gonna... Well, you know, let's... I'm looking for an animancer named Modred. Modred? Of course. You'll find him downstairs in the first room on the right. I'm curious how you've come to be in your present state. In the statue, you mean? Well, he laughs. I was old, and it seemed wrong to me, a lifetime spent in pursuit of discovery, only to lose it all in death. Somewhere, someday, I would wake up with a new body, none the wiser, and pursue a different course entirely. All that experience wasted. If we are ever to unearth the principles behind our existence, it will be in spite of our condition. Of that I am quite sure. To live on as part of something I helped build seemed to me a better legacy than what nature had in store. The transfer itself was quite simple as our technologies go, and for that I am grateful. Playing with souls is far easier to accept when they are not your own. I do miss being able to take an active role in the scholarly efforts here. Now and again, one of our animancers will humour me and consult over some problem, but they are a jealous breed, and often too afraid to collaborate. If you are considering it yourself, I can tell you that it isn't for the easily bored. Tell me about the sanitarium. A history lesson. This is a rare pleasure. Most come in are only concerned with cheating death in one way or another. We are an old institution as the Deerwood goes. This is our 94th year. As with many cities, the growth of Defiance Bay brought with it a host of problems. One of the worst was that those born with, shall we say, ill-favoured souls came to populate the streets in droves. Thus, the sanitarium. Brackenbury was a natural fit. It was growing, but there was also a lot of money here back then. The place owes its survival to the curiosities of the wealthy more than anything, I think. Our founder came at the time of great suspicion in animancy, much like today. So much progress has been lost to the mishaps of a few careless practitioners. But in time it was forgotten, as are all things. Since then we have been here at the forefront of animancy's resurgence. We have played host to many gifted researchers and pushed the boundaries of our knowledge in ways never thought possible. Some of the first safe transfers were done here, and we have pioneered work in soul purification, lineage analysis, preservation. It's really quite a list, if you'll pardon my pride. Today it's, well, I can't say it's exactly the same. There's been some push to shut us down. It comes from the Deerwood's more excitable denizens, whose minds are more passionate than thoughtful, I'm afraid. People see this a legacy, and they see it involves something they don't understand. So it's natural for them to suspect people whose understanding exceeds theirs. It looks like to them we're hiding something. We have a representative here in the pilot at this very moment, defending the entire science of animancy at a hearing before the Duke. Absurd as it sounds, if it does not go well, it could be the end of the animancy in the Deerwood. I fear Evar might be swayed by all this unrest. Irrational though it may be, we shall see. Does anyone know here in Awakenings? There's an animancer on the lower floor who came all the way from Rivia to study them. Take the stairs down and look for Balaxi. I don't know if I mean, you know, we're gonna do this one. We'll see what it does. You may have a member of the Laden's Key in your midst. Ifma groans and the stone around him shudders. I could have done without hearing that today. Many have their intrusions beat into our affairs. Of course, one can seldom be certain whether they've meddled or whether calamity has struck on its own, but a few of their less skilled infiltrators have been exposed from time to time. They're a perpetual nuisance. Once again, I am reminded of how envious I am of your gifts. I suspect there would be some use in verifying one's identity. You are at odds with Laden's Key as well, I take it. They have something I need. I hope it isn't knowledge you seek. They are seldom keen to part with it. Do you have some idea of whom this person might be? I won't know until I've met them. Very well, in that case, I would recommend you speak first with our resident animancers. They have frequent interaction with both patients and colleagues. You'll find them up here, or in their offices downstairs. You will report anything suspicious to me immediately. This is my only request. Interesting. So, we've got an interesting... can we talk to you yet? Can we even... Okay, I'll just assume we can't talk to him. Ooh, stuff to take. We can't leave without taking gifts to part with. Alright, so... I do like this fact that statues are people. Like you can they're just like you can make like people into statues. That seems pretty cool. I mean, obviously I would hate it for it to be done to me. It'd be fucking boring. But you get like the idea is interesting to me. So this guy we can talk to. Well, we can soul watch or whatever they call it, peering into the soul of his past events and whatnot. I'm not going to browse your knowledge. I'm just going to take whatever I can that isn't considered thieving. So let's go see pyramid. You see a dark room with garish furnishings, a large bed covered with pillows, several couches and expensive rugs. This man is sitting in a chair pushed against the wall of the room opposite the door. He is dressed in dark clothes with a black cloak wrapped around his shoulders, his hood pulled close around his face. Shadows fall around across him, the darkness rendering him virtually invisible. Two other men wait in the darkness with him, watching the door. All three are motionless. Noise from the crowded common room below echoes up through the floorboards. The handle rattles. A man staggers in, dragging a young woman with him. The two standing men exchange a quick glance, one of them tilting his head and shrugging only slightly before jumping to the task at hand. One steps forward, grabbing the girl's wrist, wrenching it from her escort to hold with one hand while pushing the door closed with the other. Then the hand is over the girl's mouth before she's even aware she's in someone else's arms. He takes a dagger from his place on his belt and draws it across her neck. He holds her still, waits for the struggles to stop. The other standing man has already subdued their target, now tied to a chair, arms and legs bound with a rag stuffed in his mouth. The girl, no longer moving, is placed under the bed, the man who dealt with her taking his place beside the other. They stare down at the man screaming against the cloth, but the muffled sound is unheard over the raucous noise of the crowd below. One of the men begins murmuring softly, putting his hand under the chin of the man in the chair. There is a brief flash of light, and the man stops struggling, a sudden placid look in his eyes. The two captors ask various questions that a bound man answers happily. After they finish, the two look to the man sitting against the wall. He has not moved as events transpired before him, but only sat, silently observing everything as it happens. He stands, holding the black cloak closed around him, and nods to the two men. He then walks to the door, opens it only far enough to allow himself to exit, and leaves them to finish their tasks. There's a lot of fucking shady people in this game. I'm not gonna, like, Jesus Christ. Like, how shady do you want your fucking people to be? Like, because you're fucking up there, game. You're really up there. Did not expect people to be literal, like, edgelords in the level of shadiness that they've got. So we've only got time for probably one more conversation, even be it short or long. So we'll talk to you
Well
first.
met, friend.
A woman paces back and forth, her feet crunching on the soft red carpet. She gestures and mumbles to herself, shaking her head as she pores over pages of notes. She almost walks into you. Escosi, here I am, looking so hard for answers in my research that I do not see the kif standing in front of me. What can I do? Oh, yes, Excusi, I think that is. I'm looking for an expert on awakenings. She laughs bitterly. Ack, that would be me. The lack of research subjects has made me more of an expert in counting floorboards. I would like to transfer Animanti's success into buttressing pre-awakened souls to soothing those whose souls who've already awakened. But I need subjects, and most of the patients here are too broken to produce reliable results. It is a tragedy to have come so far for nothing. You're in luck, I have a volunteer. She springs to the balls of her feet, beaming. Galadre, who is it? Her little lips curl into a frown. I don't know about this. She grins more broadly still. Don't be silly. The process is perfectly harmless. All you must do is stand in that cage. I beg your pardon? I jest. Your adherents are so uptight. I don't even know what the thing is used for. It belonged to the last occupant of this office, I think. Now, they upgraded him to a cell. Again, I jest. She rubs her hands together, getting down to business, so I need you to sit here. She takes Elof by the shoulders and steers him to the couch. And try to relax, but don't try too hard. Then you'll not be relaxing. Indeed, his eyes are humourless. And you must also wear these. A little cold, but the copper will help conduct your essence. The Animanta fastens thick copper bands to Elof's forehead and wrists. As she ratchets them tighter, his face twisted with suppressed irritation. Now, I will examine your soul through my scope. She reached into her desk and produced a long, chambered tube. Knobs, dials, and small, toothed wheels along the side of the device. It is fitted with an Adra lens, cut to different thicknesses and concavities. By manipulating them, I find the angles and densities that allow me to track the anomalies in your soul. How exciting! I've never seen this sort of thing performed. Khan peers over at the device with interest. It seems suitably complicated. Does this mean we'll get to talk to Isamir more? I like that lady. She raises a finger, but first, we must find this cunning interloper. You will answer some personal questions while I make adjustments. Stenka pats his arm. Don't worry, I'm sure we won't hear any of it. Olaf squirms on the couch. Very well. She holds the scope to her eye and flicks a knob. To begin, tell me something personal, something from a time before your awakening. There's nothing to tell. I was just a normal child living in Sidfwood. He looks at you. His face is set in a frown, but the ridge's edges on the apprehension show through nevertheless. Talk about your parents. As you speak to Olaf, you feel your voice like a bell in your chest. It tolls softly, luring him into the midst of his own memory. Belinsky doesn't seem to notice anything, but you feel as if your words are smoothing his essence, untangling its many threads. He closes his eyes. Mother is away most of the time, with the Fane family, but I always know when she is coming home. Father's bottles accumulate like storm clouds on the horizon. His fits of temper become swifter and more violent. It still shames him, knowing that her hameg to another man supports is better than his labours as a steward. That is good. I'm starting to see something. Continue. Tell us about the time you awakened. She bites her tongue and she twists one of the dials. I'm in my 5th year of training. Mother is home. I can let my guard down a little because when she's around, he is usually only angry with her. But he has heard that I have had trouble casting missiles. That my flame shields are unstable. He is furious that I have failed, and Mother's presence reminds him that he has failed too. The first blow takes me by surprise. One moment I am sweeping in the kitchen, the next I am sprawled on the ground, stupidly looking at the flecks of blood on the tile. His boot, glistening with fresh polish, thud across the floor. He kicks me in the stomach, and I curl up to shield my vitals. But it's pointless. Protecting one thing only leaves something else exposed. Still held on the ground, I retreat as fast as I can. I retreat until the vision of the kitchen and my own trembling knees is nothing but a pinprick against the field of black. His jaw locks and his eyes twitch beneath their lids. Madicho, I believe that is. Belagase furiously cranks the knobs along a scope. He's hypnotized himself with his old memory. You've got to bring him out of it quickly. I almost have it. I really want to slap him because that's funny. But I'm going to just say, you're safe. Everything's fine. Elf's eyes snap open, but the expression you see in the arm isn't his. He's near safe when I hap upon him. Berger sucks a deep breath through her teeth. That's it! I'm seeing a shift in his essence. Something spreading and congealing. She glances you over her scope. Keep talking. He seems to respond to you. What brought you here? Cracking bones and voices in my ear. High in ear. The warm, malicious feeling that creeps down your gut when your crisis is nigh. Bilfetto. We have flares of a total distinct essence. She jots short-handed notes onto a page next to her and turns to one clicking knob of her scope. Now, try to get the two of them talking. Alof, ask Ilsamir what she's doing. Let's face Twist, sticking weed, worming parasite. He bursts into sudden laughter. You'd say the same thing to your own kindled twig when it betrays you. Idiot grins. Must be hard to avoid knowing there's a lady in your body the whole time judging you. Good, yes, very good. She rests from her scribbling, only to make another adjustment to her scope. I can now see two separate patterns of essence. Where he ebbs, the other flows. It's as if the awakened soul fills the spaces that he leaves empty. She prompts you with a circling of her wrist, quill in hand. Go on. Isamir, what exactly were you taking from him? 9 more than I'm given. You should ask what I did that old man of his. Now that last time he laid a hand on hers, I break it in 3 places. Alf said, jokes aside, that wasn't your decision. It's never been your decision. Now was your awakening, but now I'm stuck with you, and damned if I'm letting your minnying drag us both through the scrupper. Ak, very good. She lowers her scope and consults her notes. I think I've finally got something which we can work with. I've tracked some assistance through the exchange. She had a particularly high density index during the most heated portions of their argument, and her essence seemed to localize most clearly in the lower portions of the subject's left ribcage. Now that's right around the spleen, which of course means that she is triggered by a black bile. No doubt the subject's characteristic melancholy is to blame. Olaf blinks at you, and in the midst of his perturbation, you're not quite sure who's looking out of his eyes. That's such a horse shite. Stacky's eyes are wide and innocent. It does seem as though he got one thing right. She glances at him. Yes, never mind my years of training. I suppose you have a better explanation? Alof's right, that's absurd. Ismir only obviously shows up when he feels threatened. Besta carefully scratched her jaw, her gaze darted between you and Alof. I suppose that could be true. She jots another note. I'll have to check this against other research. He removes her the copper bands. Well, and good for you. But what does this mean for me? Besta frowns at her note, tapping her cheek with a quill and making a grand show of concentration. However, you catch her stealing a glance at you over the pages. I think it's the third. It seems that Ismir steps in when she determines that you are in danger. It's not clear yet whether this is a help or a hindrance. From my positions, I'd say it's pretty clearly a hindrance. I've got a lot to process, regardless. Thank you for your help, Aldwyn. He does not look at Balsig. She sets her note on her desk and returns to her scope. Well, I hope this has been useful to you, and as it has been to me. I finally have material worth publishing. You'll be the toast of a reviewer. Venter Alof. His grimace melts into a crooked smile. Aye, advancing the right-wise principles of animancy. Just what you've always wanted. As you return to leave, you catch a darting movement out of the corner of your eye. Balsig is humming to herself, still occupied with her scope, but Alof is holding her notes. He's about to tuck them in his cloak when he catches you, watching. Yields a finger to his lips, his eyes wide and imploring, please. I don't want my personal information published like this, especially not after her nonsense. No. To be fair, Aldwyn's the middle ground, isn't he? No. You get your explanation and she gets her research. That was the deal. He slides the papers back on the desk, giving you a rueful look. I nigh gonna help ye explain this one, scholar boy. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was a very long part. We've got two things to quickly look at here. Something called the Ivy Horn. So we got this, which is summons Rain Blight. Interesting. And tax collectors, we earned 4 copper. Oh, that's how you make money, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next part. See you guys then.